was the signal of putting the talit on. It was the signal. You put the talit on.
Makes me nervous when you get that quiet.
Something momentous must
Something
be coming.
momentous must be happening. Oh, right, it's Shabbat.
Yay!
Yay! Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
It is wonderful to be here. I don't know about all of you, but I have had a busy, busy week. And yes, it is a little warm in here. We're working on it. I'm sorry. We don't really know why.
Let's skip the aerobic workout.
We'll skip the aerobic workout and we'll assume it's the warmth of Shabbat. So, I've had a busy week. I don't know if you have, but it is great to see all of you here in our sacred spaces, celebrating sacred time. So let's separate ourselves from whatever happened during your week by taking a deep breath in. And release. Take one more breath in. And as you release, feel yourself relax, relaxing your shoulders, letting go of the week. This last breath in, breathe in. Breathe in the beauty, the connection of Shabbat. And release. I can feel the energy has shifted, and now we'll continue to shift our energy into the peace of Shabbat by singing Shalom Aleichem, which can be found on page 24.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaSharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ba'achem leShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Baruchuni leShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Tzedchem leShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Continue with kindling the Shabbat lights and offering Kiddush.
Yes.
Can you help us with that?
I can help with that.
It's my pleasure to invite Martha and Michael Fleischer to come forward to offer the candle lighting and Kiddush. Here, I'm going to give you guys a microphone. Can you hold it close to your mouth? Yeah.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light. I'd like to invite everyone who'd like to light Shabbat candles along with Martha to come forward to the table on the side.
You can go ahead, Martha. Go ahead, you can light the candles. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu, lehodlik ner, shel Shabbat.
Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
It's a miracle.
There you go.
I got it.
Okay.
The heaven and earth were finished and all their array. On the seventh day, God finished the work that God had been doing, and God stopped on the seventh day from all the work that God had done. And God blessed the seventh day and declared it holy, because on that day God ceased from all the work of creation that God had done.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Barei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, b'shabbat kodsho, be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh bereshit, ki hu yom techila lemikrae kodesh, zecher letziat Mitzrayim, ki banu v'acharta, V'yotanu kidashta mikol hamim, v'shabbat kodshecha, be'ava uvratzon, hinchaltanu, Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen. L'chaim.
I am. And we want to say happy birthday to Martha at the end of her celebration of her milestone birthday. Mazel tov. Our opening reading is, I believe, found on page 7. Where has this week vanished? Is it lost forever? Will I ever recover anything from it? The joy of life, the unexpected victory, the realized hope, the task accomplished. Will I ever be able to banish the memory of pain, the sting of defeat, the heaviness of boredom? On this day, let me keep for a while what must drift away. On this day, let me be free of the burdens that must return. On this day, Shabbat, abide. Help me to withdraw for a while from the flight of time, contain the retreat of the hours and days from the grasp of frantic life. Let me learn to pause, if only for this day. Let me find peace on this day. Let me enter into a quiet world this day. On this day, Shabbat, abide. Page 28, the Baruch Hu, our call to worship. We rise in body or spirit.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach, Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Vaed.
Page 31, we read together. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai Hama'ariv Aravim. We continue with the Shema, the watchword of our faith, on page 34 and 35.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
Please be seated.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha ve'hayu hadavarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavcha hayom al levavecha Beshinantam levanecha, bedibarta bam, beshivdecha bevetecha, uvlechtecha baderech, uvshochbecha uvkumecha, ukshartam leot al yadecha, behayu letotafot beinenecha, uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru ve'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'item kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem lelohim ani Adonai Elohechem.
As we move towards Micha Mocha, I share with you this reading. All this is true and trustworthy, our experience of this world. Our lives are difficult. We are pursued by our ideals and our imperfections. We must choose between life and death, between slavery and freedom. We sway between listening for hope and succumbing to anguish and despair, the death of our spirit, but we are not abandoned nor alone. We search the distant past and our own days and find the courage to enter our struggles, to wrestle with the pharaohs in our hearts and those in the world around us, and slowly to free ourselves from bondage. We are companions who help each other rise from the dust. From age to age, the tale has been told, how Moses and Miriam led us forth from Egypt. The deed of liberation is answered with joyous song, a moment of celebration that lingers and uplifts us in the midst of our days as we sing Micha Mocha, page 40.
Micha Mocha ba'elim bakodesh, nora tehilot, Ose belech, mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar bakodesh. Who is like you? Who is like you, Adonai? Who is like you, Adonai? When Moses and the children crossed the sea, they sang to you with songs of joy. Who is like you, Adonai? Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar bakodesh.
Page 42, Hashkivenu. It's a little strange to sing an evening lullaby in the summer when it's definitely not evening, but the point of Hashkivenu is to ask God for protection, for a Sukkot Shalom, a shelter of peace when we need it the most, whether it is a physical shelter, whether it's a spiritual shelter, whether it's just sometimes knowing that we have protection around us when we need it. And so we sing.
Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, leshalom. Behamidenu, shomreinu lechaim, lechaim. Ufros aleinu, Sukkot shlomecha, ufros aleinu, Sukkot shlomecha. Sukkot shalom, Sukkot shalom, Sukkot shalom, Aleinu, Aleinu. As I lay me down, may I feel peace all around, sheltered beneath your wings. May I feel safe and protected until a new day begins. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, leshalom. Vehamidenu, shomreinu lechaim, lechaim. Sukkot shalom, Sukkot shalom, Sukkot shalom, Aleinu, Aleinu, Aleinu.
always feels good to leave that piece with a little bit of space after.
It does. We might have to wake him up with Vishamru, though.
Sounds good to me. Page 44 of Vishamru. It's a celebration of our Shabbat, of how wonderful it is to have the time and the gift of Shabbat. Vishamru.
It's okay. It's okay. We'll drown it out. Go. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Bein uvein b'nei Yisrael, oti leolam, veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat, ledorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai, et ha-shamayim ve'et ha'aretz beshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam.
We continue with the tefillah, beginning on page 46 with Adonai Sifatai, which gets us all revved up and ready for the tefillah. And then we will chant straight through page 48, page 50, and page 52, prayers that first give thanks for our forefathers and foremothers, and then for God's greatness, and then for the sanctity of Shabbat. Please rise in body or in spirit.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, v'Konei HaKol, Vezocher chaste avot ve'imahot, umevi geula livnei v'neihem, lema'an shemo be'ahava, melech hozer u'moshia u'magen, baruch atah Adonai, magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah, atah gibor le'olam Adonai, mechayeh hakol atah, Rav lehoshia, mechalkel chayim bechesed, mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, somech noflim verofech olim, umatir asurim, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Please be seated. Page 59. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh lehodot. We continue on page 60 with singing Shalom Rav. As we sing Shalom Rav, we take a moment and think about all of those things that we are grateful for.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Ki ata hu melech hadot lechol hashalom. לכל השלום, שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם.
We take a moment now to think of all of those whom we love who are in need of healing, whether it be a healing of body or a healing of spirit, whether it be healing from mental illness, healing from the struggles of life. And so if you are at home, I hope that you will lift up in the chat the names of those whom you love who are struggling on this Shabbat. And here in our sanctuary, as my hand passes over our community, I hope you'll share aloud the names of loved ones so that together we can feel the strength and offer our loved ones just a little bit of what they need for healing on this Shabbat. Jane, Fred, and Susan. We join all of the names that have been shared aloud on this Shabbat with the names that reside in our heart. And we sing together our healing prayer on the middle of page 253.
May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Yisheberach imotenu, makor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
We take a moment for silent prayer and reflection.
Iyul ratzon imre pi, Iyul ratzon imre pi, v'hagyod libi lefanecha, Adonai tzuri v'goali. Oh, may the words of my mouth, the meditations of my heart be acceptable before you, O God, my rock and my redeemer. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imeru, ve'imeru. Amen.
Seems a little strange to have that beautiful piece about shalom and then turn to what I'm going to talk about for my Devar Torah, or my sermon. You should have gotten a handout with a packet, I should say. I'm going to do a little bit of tech. Jacob, I'm going to walk around a little bit. Will you wave your arms if I leave camera view? Okay. So you should have gotten a handout. It's a little bit of a bigger handout, a packet. It's a little bit of a daunting packet. Don't worry. We're not going to do every word. And we're going to walk through an interesting theme. So I have a favorite rabbi from the Talmud because I love his name. And I've said this before, Rabbi Deb knows already, Rabbi Ben Bagbag. And I love him because I love his name. Because if you haven't said his name, you should just practice because it's just so much fun to say Rabbi Ben Bagbag. And he also said this wonderful thing. He said you should turn Torah over and over again, because every time you do that, you're going to find something new. And he's completely right. This year, studying the book of Numbers, I saw a new theme throughout these last 4 or 5 Torah portions that I've never noticed before in preparing for the last couple of weeks. And what I noticed in starting, and I only did, 1, 2, 3, 4 Torah portions, but really in 6 or 7 Torah portions, a theme of anger repeating itself over and over again within every Torah portion. And I had not noticed that before. Here are the Israelites wandering in the desert, but they've been liberated, they've been redeemed by God, and they're on their way to the promised land. And what happens over and over again in every Torah portion, in these 6 or 7 Torah portions, is anger. There's at least a section of the Torah portion where we find anger. So I've put a couple of more than a couple, I've put examples from a number of Torah portions over the last couple of weeks, just to show you some of this motif. And then we're going to look at, well, how do we manage this anger? This could be quite the class. I found this really fascinating. So let's look first at, this was a couple of, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago from Shalach Lecha, also known as Shalach. This is the famous story of the spies. If you know the story, God said to Moses, gather 12 spies, go and see what this land is going to be. And 10 spies went out, and all 12 went out. 10 came back with a not so great report. And 2 came back, Joshua and Caleb, with a pretty great report. And it didn't go well from there, because the Israelites, anybody remember what happened? What happened to the Israelites? They doubted. What else? They kind of freaked out, okay? So if you look, it says in Numbers 14, verse 11 and 12, and God said to Moses, and you see in the italics, and everywhere in the text there's italics, which is the anger section, right? So you have a lot of text. So now you know not to freak out, because only the italics is where the angry is, okay? How long will this people spurn me? How long will they have no faith in me despite all the signs that I have performed in their midst? I will strike them with pestilence and disown them, and I will make of you a nation far more numerous than they. So God is mad, right? Why is God so mad? Because 10 of the spies came back and said, the people there are giants, and we look like grasshoppers, and we can't do it. We cannot conquer them, and we cannot go to the promised land. And so no matter what God says, this is not happening. And all the Israelites, they freaked out. And they said, we're going back to Egypt. Forget it. We're done. It's over. And God was furious. So God sent a plague. And so Moses calmed God down. Everything was sort of okay. We're going to skip the next couple of verses. We're going to come back to them. We're going to use them in the how do we manage anger. We're going to skip those. We're going to go to the next Torah portion. Okay. So now we're going to look at Korach. We just read Korach 2 weeks ago. I have no sense of time. 0. It's over. You know, there was a great article, by the way, if you can find it, on how COVID really did mess with our sense of time. It is like an actual thing now. So, story 2, Korach. Korach was a leader in the Israelite, you know, he was a leader, but he wanted a little bit more. So he took some people with him, and he told Moses and Aaron, and he said to them, "You have gone too far. For all of the community are holy, all of them, and Adonai is in their midst. And why do you raise yourselves above Adonai's congregation?" So Korach is mad. What happens to Korach? Anybody remember? Deb remembers. What happens? They get struck down. They get more than struck down. They get blown up. They get enveloped by the earth. The earth opens and they go poof down. Bye-bye, right? Taking all these holy words, and I'm being a little irreverent tonight. You'll forgive me. So Korach and his followers are gone, right? Korach is angry, so angry at Moses. Why is he angry at Moses? It says, "You have gone too far." What does it seem to be he's upset with? This is your turn. Anybody? What's he saying to Moses? You think you're better than everyone else. He wants a shot at leadership, right? What happens is, in the end, Moses says, "You know what? Okay, fine. We'll both bring our fire pans. We'll see what God says." God chooses Moses. Why was Korach's rebellion not okay? Does that mean rebellion's not good? No, not necessarily. Korach was in it for himself. And so you'll see I included a little bit of a text here. Anything that's indented is just like, Susan Merdler taught this to me, a gift, a giveaway. Is that what you say? Okay. So what's a good argument versus a bad argument? A good argument is for the sake of heaven, and a bad argument is not for the sake of heaven. Korach's argument was not for the sake of heaven, it was for his own ego. So that's why he was not chosen. Okay, let's look at the third story, Chukat. That's this week's Torah portion. It's a double Torah portion, Chukat Balak. There are 2 sections that should be italicized in your text. So what happens in Chukat? First we're in Chukat, and then we'll be in Balak. These are major narratives in the text, in the story. It's a very long Torah portion. And first we have in Chukat, Miriam dies and the water dries up. There's no more well. And the Israelites are thirsty. I mean, they're walking through the desert. My son is in Israel now. Our son is in Israel. He's walking through the desert. He took a 5-mile hike yesterday morning. I can't imagine what it would be like for him not to have water. Okay? So the Israelites are thirsty. And they say, "And the people strove with Moses and spoke, 'Would that we had perished when our own kin perished before Adonai. Why have you brought the people of Adonai in this wilderness to die there, we and our cattle? And wherefore have you made us to come up out of Egypt and to bring us unto this evil place? It is no place of seed or figs or of vines or of pomegranates, neither is there water to drink.' And Moses and Aaron went from the presence of the assembly to the door of the tent of meeting and fell upon their faces." So the Israelites what are they upset with? How are they feeling? Scared, abandoned. I love that. Scared and abandoned. And when we feel scared and abandoned, what's another emotion that we might pull upon? Anger. Right? We might do that. So then God tells Moses they should have some water. So Moses is told, you should strike the rock. And when you strike the rock, water will come. What's been happening? We're on our 3rd Torah portion. It's, yes. You're correct. That is important. Take the rock, you're correct. Speak to the rock, you're correct. Verse 7. Speak to the rock. Okay? So 2 Torah portions or 3 Torah portions have happened, and what have the Israelites been doing? Not just complaining, but they've been angry. And so Moses does what? Moses is told, speak to the rock, talk to this rock, like your pet rock, and water's going to come out. Most of us know this story. And what does Moses do? You guys are quiet tonight. He strikes the rock how many times? Twice. Whoop. He strikes the rock twice. And what does he say to the Israelites? Hear now, you rebels. Moses is hot. He is mad. He lost it. Those of us who are parents out here, wouldn't you have lost it too? I'd be at my wit's end, right? I've got like 600,000 children and all they're doing is rebelling and being not pleasant. I would hit the rock and I would be mad too. And what was Moses' punishment? Correct. He was not allowed to walk into the promised land. Okay? One more. This is the second part of this week's Torah portion. So we have Shrek this week. Okay, who's seen Shrek? Who remembers Shrek? What's a famous character in Shrek? A talking donkey. We have a talking donkey in this week's Torah portion. Okay, so it's a little bit confusing. We have Balaam and Balak. We're going to talk about Balaam. Balak, if you want to remember, Balak is the king, a little alliteration. Balaam is the magician. Okay, so Balaam is a magician, and he was told by Balak that he would make a lot of money if he cursed the Israelites. God said, you're not going to curse the Israelites. Don't do it. Balaam keeps trying to curse the Israelites because he wants to make a lot of money. This is a cool thing to do. So Balaam is walking along. He's on his donkey. Well, he's not walking along. He's riding on his donkey, and all of a sudden, his donkey starts squishing his leg along the wall. And it doesn't go well, okay? So I'm going to read part of it. God was incensed at his going, so a messenger of Adonai took a position in his way as an adversary. He was riding on his donkey with his 2 servants. The donkey caught sight of the messenger of Adonai standing in the way, with his sword drawn in his hand. The donkey swerved from the road and went into the fields, and Balaam beat the donkey. It should say donkey. I'm going to read donkey. Beat the donkey to turn her back onto the road. So Balaam what's his response? The donkey does the wrong thing, and what does he do? He beats the animal, right? So I'm going to skip down. When the donkey now saw the messenger of God, she lay down, and Balaam was furious and beat the donkey with the stick. Then Adonai opened the donkey's mouth, and the donkey said to Balaam, "What have I done to you that you have beaten me these 3 times?" Balaam said to the donkey, "You have made a mockery of me. If I had a sword, I'd kill you." How many times have we been angry when we have felt foolish? So if you skip down, so there's a beautiful piece here by Rabbi Harvey Winokur. I'll read just a couple of sentences. If he were thinking clearly, he would have realized that this faithful donkey was trying to tell him something. Gerhard von Rad, a 20th century German theologian, has written, "In anger, God's will is hidden from human eyes." And then the last sentence, "Anger clouds our minds and makes us incapable of rational thought." So here we have a faithful animal who's never done anything wrong, who suddenly does something completely out of the ordinary. And Balaam feels silly and foolish. He's surrounded by other things. And he himself, Balaam, becomes irrational and mean and angry. So, just four stories. I actually found about 12. I figured you'd be bored out of your mind. So you're probably all ready. So 4 was plenty. 4 stories of anger in these Torah portions. So anger then becomes a very important topic in rabbinic Judaism, in later text. Basically, what the rabbis teach is that anger is bad and we need to do everything in our power not to become angry. Because when we become angry, we're not ourselves. And so if you switch back to one of our first texts, Numbers 14, verse 18, it says, Adonai, slow to anger and abounding in kindness, forgiving iniquity and transgression, yet not remitting all punishment, visiting the iniquity of parents upon children upon the 3rd and 4th generations. That may seem a little familiar to you. We read it during the High Holy Days. The first section, Adonai, slow to anger, abounding in kindness. That becomes a theme for rabbinic Judaism in what we need to do. Just as God was supposed to be slow to anger and abounding in kindness, we too need to work towards that. That's what we need to do. We need to be slow to anger. And so I want to just go through 2 texts. The rest are on your own. And so on page 4 from the Talmud, Rabbi Eli said, in 3 matters, a person's true character is ascertained. In his cup, i.e., his behavior when he drinks, in his pocket, his conduct in his financial dealings with other people, and in his anger. And some people say a person also reveals his real nature in his laughter. So why is this text teaching that a person's true character is revealed in their anger?
It shows how they act in times of desperation.
Okay.
Uncommon, like their usual self.
Okay. How about someone else besides Walter? He seems to be the only brave person here today. Anyone else? Yeah, James. Beautiful. So if you didn't hear that when we're truly angry, the facade of who we are, our masks, come off and we see our true selves. Is that a good, beautiful? Thank you, James. Anyone else? Yes. But what is it? Why do we reveal ourselves, Karen? How do we reveal ourselves through our anger?
I think there's a lot of ways. One way is yelling and screaming,
Mm-hmm.
right? Another way is just shutting up.
Yeah.
Not saying anything.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Did I see a hand? Alan.
I think it's a reflection of the trait that comes gifts, the things that we be grateful for. When we're angry, we forget about those.
Beautiful. So if you didn't hear that, when we're angry, we forget about the gifts that God gave us. Beautiful. Is that a good summary? Okay, thank you, Alan. Sandy, I think I saw your hand all the way in the back. They lose control. They're not moderating themselves. Wonderful. Thank you. Catherine? Excellent. So it connects really a little bit to James, right? So there's no thinking. They're just reacting. There's no, it's just who they really authentically are. Beautiful. All right, let's go to, did anybody else? I don't want to cut anybody off. Okay, let's actually go to the last text on the page. It's a little bit longer. So this, the way that rabbis prove themselves, to prove that they're right, is by doing something called a proof text. And so the reason this text is quite long is after every comment, is a verse. So they prove themselves with a psalm, or they prove a verse from Psalms, or a verse from Ecclesiastes, or a verse from Proverbs. So in reality, this text is not that long. I'm not going to read the proof text. I'm just going to read what each rabbi had to say. Rabbi Bar Rav Huna said, anyone who gets angry at the moment even the divine presence is not important to him. Rabbi Yirmiyah of Difti said, anyone who gets angry forgets his learning and increases foolishness. Rabbi Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak said, with regard to one who gets angry, it is acknowledged that his sins are more numerous than his merits. What does that make you think about or feel? Go ahead, Michael. I really like that. Thank you. If you didn't hear that, a lot more can go wrong if you let anger dictate what you're doing. Thank you. Anyone else? I want to end with repeating the first line in that paragraph. Rabbi Bar Rav Huna said, anyone who gets angry at that moment, even the divine presence is not important to him. What that tells me is that sometimes when we're angry, we have no idea what else is going on. We're just overtaken. It's like literally when someone says we're seeing red. I want to end also with this quote from page 2. When we feel angry, we generally feel powerless about something. I think feelings of anger and powerlessness are, in fact, inversely related to each other. Ask yourself what you may feel powerless about, and then ask yourself what you are empowered to do. So I believe the Israelites were feeling powerless throughout the book of Numbers, and that was making them feel angry. And I also wonder if this year, if 2023, is the year I was meant to see this motif, because there is so much anger and so much feeling of powerlessness in our country and in our world. And so it was the time for me to see and experience and to learn a little bit more about how to experience and understand anger. Shabbat Shalom. Alan, did you want to say something? Yeah, please. Mm-hmm. 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 It's about me, right? And what happened, there's so much on anger in the text. Is that there are times when there's righteous anger. There are times when we're allowed to be angry. And there are times like Korach, when we're not, when it is only about ego. And we need to really study when are we supposed to take up that space? And when are we not supposed to take up that space? And being, as God says, slow to anger, really taking that breath is the most important to when we know, are we being Korach? Or is this really appropriate? Are we really feeling powerless in this moment? And we need to figure out what's going on. So thank you.
Wow. So while you're taking that breath, sometimes a song can help you to recover your equanimity. I like that connection. And I used a big word too. So those deep breaths will help us get there too, right? בתוכם ואנחנו with thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you.
We continue with Aleinu on page 283. Please rise in body or spirit. Let us adore the ever-living God and render praise unto you, who spread out the heavens and established the earth, whose glory is revealed in the heavens above, and whose greatness is manifest throughout the world. You are our God, there is none else.
ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. Our memorial meditation is found on page 289. In nature's ebb and flow, God's eternal law abides. When tears dim our vision or grief clouds our understanding, we often lose sight of God's eternal plan. Yet we know that growth and decay, life and death, all reveal a divine purpose. God, who is our support in the struggles of life, is also our hope in death. We have set God before us and shall not despair. In God's hands are the souls of all the living and the spirits of all flesh. Under God's protection we abide, and by God's love we are comforted. O life of our life, soul of our soul, cause your light to shine into our hearts and fill our spirits with abiding trust in you. On this Shabbat, we remember those taken most recently from our temple family: Mark A. Weinberger, Warren Nemiroff. And we remember those whose yahrzeits fall on this Shabbat: James Hertz Ahrens, Louis A. Affelder, Albert Burwasser, Grace G. Buxbaum, Hazel Haas Colbert, Charlotte Coleman, Timothy J. Curtis, Henry William Dietz, Blanche Friedman, Phyllis Goldston, Miriam Scher Hamburger, Harold S. Heller, Pearl Hollander, John Klein, William M. Koner, Albert Kronheim, David Meckler, William D. Mendelson, Elizabeth Mitchell, Ronald Nelson, Maurice B. Newman, Emmanuel C. Pearson, Natalie G. Perlmutter, Sally Rosenberg, Saju Sakai, Adele Shapiro, Leo Siegel, Rabbi Myron Silverman, Alma Leslie Stern, Emmanuel R. Steele, Eileen Van, Morris Williger, Paul David Wurzberger. Our griefs and sympathies are mingled as we turn to page 294 and rise for the mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yidkadash shemei rabbah, v'alma divra chirute, v'amlich malchute, v'chayechon uv'yamechon, uv'chaye techol beit Yisrael, v'agala uv'izman kari v'imru, amen. Yehi shmei rabbah mevorach leolam almei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, V'yit hadar, v'yit haleh, v'yit halal, shemei de kodesha barechu, Le'ilal min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, ta'amiran bi'alma v'imru, amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shamaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Osei shalom bimromav, huya asei shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and give comfort to all who are bereaved. And let us say together, amen.
Amen.
Please be seated. It's my pleasure to invite Susan Hirsch to come forward to offer words of greeting and announcement. Thank you.
Thank you to Martha and Michael Fleischer for lighting the candles and reciting the Kiddush tonight in honor of Martha's milestone. We need your vote on August 8th. Whoops, sorry. There are, it says mail, there are applications for mail-in ballots in the front lobby. Vote by mail applications must be received by August 1st. Other important dates is that you need to register, if you are not registered, by July 10th. Early voting is from July 11th to August 6th. But overall, protect majority rule and vote no on issue 1. Just a reminder that summer gatherings are happening. Gatherings are a group of STKA members who get together with shared interests. With the beautiful weather, Foodies Gathering is where it's at. There's also outdoor yoga, hike and kibitz, and game night. Information is on the STKA website. You can also call the office to register. Everyone is welcome to attend. For the first time, our gatherings are gathering all in one place. Join gatherings July 23rd at Blossom for Who Could Ask, sorry. Who Could Ask for Anything More, featuring Michael Feinstein and Jean Ives Thibaudet. Click in to connect on our website. STKA offices are closed Monday, July 3rd and Tuesday, July 4th. Have a happy and safe 4th. And finally, Open Doors commitment letters have gone out. If you did not receive yours, please call Rochelle in the office and let her know. Shabbat Shalom.
Before we move to our closing song, which is in honor of July 4th, I want to offer a prayer for our country. It's called For Government, and it is based on a traditional prayer that is found in the Saturday morning service. Yikum Porkan Min Shemaya, let deliverance arise from heaven, bringing justice and enlightenment to the nations of the earth and to the leaders of the United States. Chine v'chiste v'rachamai, bringing grace, love, and compassion to the halls of power, the seats of government, the capitals of our world. Yehi ratzon milfanecha, may it be your will to grant to the heads of our state a new vision for safety and prosperity, friendship and cooperation, so that all may know the fullness of your blessings. In a world of generosity and kindness, tranquility and peace. Hanotein shu'ah umemshala lenos'im, may you who gives redemption and governance to presidents, reward us with political leaders, with true vision and deep understanding of your instructions, to rebuild and renew the earth, so that economic, legal, social, and environmental justice may bear fruit for generations to come. And let us all say, Amen.
Amen.
I should say one thing about that the prayer is based actually in Aramaic, not in Hebrew. So slightly challenging.
Yes.
And we're going to sing what, Deb?
We're going to sing America the Beautiful.
On page 377.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Go to the last verse. Oh, beautiful for patriot dream that sees beyond the years. Thine alabaster cities gleam, undimmed by human tears. America, America, God shed God's grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
We rise in body or spirit for our benediction, followed immediately by Motzi.
Yevarechecha Adonai ve'yishmerecha.
May God bless you and keep you.
Yair Adonai panav elecha v'chunecha.
May the light of God's presence shine upon you and be gracious to you.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha ve'yasem lecha shalom ve'yasem lecha shalom.
May God lift up each one of us and may God bring us shalom, peace, and wholeness.
Amen. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz, we give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together, as our prayer is humbly said. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
B'tei Avon,
B'tei
Shabbat
Avon,
Shalom.
and Shabbat Shalom.